Who knows?
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start with our hymn of welcome. That's number 298. 298, hymn of welcome, Wake Now My Senses. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim whose quest for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering, feel the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, guide justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Good morning. My name is Marie Dupree, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees as its treasurer. And to share a little bit of my story, my husband Keith and I first came to UUCD in October 1969. I have been treasurer at least 3 different times, as well as president in 1987. My family grew up in UUCD, and this has been a common unifying bond for Keith and myself. I'd like to draw your attention to the announcements when they are put up. A couple of them, a lot of them are in the order of service, but the ones I'd like to present are the Young Adults for UUCD. Join us in conversation, spirituality, and social action every Sunday at 12 p.m. in the UUC Zoom room. Please contact Sakia Lowe for more information. We need the input of all families with children and youth as we make plans for next year. If you are a parent who's not yet attended any of our family meetings with the Religious Education Ministry team and the Director of Religious Education, please plan to attend the final family meeting tomorrow, Monday, July 13th at 7 p.m. Coming soon will be the Zoom open mic coffee house, 7/24 and 8/21 at 7 p.m. More information to follow. Please read the online guidelines. We will mute your lines in order to optimize audio for the speakers. Webcams, you may select speaker view or gallery view to change the webcam view located in either the top right-hand corner of your screen or above the window frame. You may need to scroll through the many webcam ties to see your friends and even speakers. At times, we'll have text like this on screen. At other times, just the video panes. Chat to UU Congregation of Danbury privately if you have any questions or technical issues. Please minimize the chat if you find it distracting. At this point, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. Gail Alexander has been associated with this congregation for 52 years. Over these years, he has served in many capacities on the Finance Committee, the Board of Trustees, as Vice President of the congregation, RE mentor and teacher, facilitator of our NAMI Family Support Outreach Program for those who have loved ones with mental illness, and most recently as our elected moderator. Gail is an actor, meeting planner, and professional magician who lives with his wife, Jackie, in New Milford, Connecticut.
Thank you, Marie. Our opening words this morning come from Peter Bregman, who writes in his article, "Do People Really Want You to Be Honest?" in the Harvard Business Review. And he talks about a trip that he and his wife took, a hike, where they met a friend. And they had really been enjoying the hike and some time alone and kind of rediscovering each other. And she offered to hike with them, and they really wanted the private time, but gave it her an excuse rather than just simply saying that's what they wanted. It happened that on the way down, they met her again. And again, she offered to go with them as they descended. And again, they made an excuse. Later, they confessed that they hadn't quite given her the whole story, and she admitted that she had guessed. The reading this morning is his reflection on this interaction. And he says, Why didn't we just tell her we wanted to spend some time alone? She surely would have understood. The easy answer is that we were trying to preserve her feelings, but the real answer is that we were trying to preserve our own. We didn't want to feel rude or mean. And the real answer is that we didn't want to feel her judgment or disapproval of us for being mean or rude, which of course backfired. After that encounter, I did some soul searching. How often do I say things that aren't completely true in order to make someone, usually myself, feel better? How often do I subtly, or at least I think subtly, position things so they appear in a better light? Unfortunately, the answer is often. And I see this in organizations all the time. People position messages to gain buy-in. We present things in a light that we think will make it easier for others to accept. Maybe we don't outright lie, but we gently massage the truth to make it more acceptable, more likely to be embraced. And then, like Eleanor and me on our walk, we expend a tremendous amount of energy to keep up a ruse that fools no one. Okay, at this time, I'd like to give you an opportunity to get out your chalice and light that as we say our chalice lighting affirmation. Jackie's going to hand me out his hair, so I'm like, oops, get it up there in the screenshot. Okay. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. And now, if well, you can't turn to reading number 500, but we're going to do a unison reading this morning called The Marvelous Truth. And thank you to our technical team for putting that up. So if you will read along with me. Marvelous truth, confront us at every turn, in every guise. Iron ball, egg, dark horse, shadow, cloud of breath on the air. Dwell in our crowded hearts, our steaming bathrooms, kitchens full of this to be done, the ordinary streets. Thrust close your smile that we know you, terrible joy. And now it's our time. I'll turn it over to Jerry for our shared milestones time.
Good morning. Now is our time of shared milestones. You can drop a stone in a bowl on camera silently, or you could light a candle of your own while I play some music. Also use the chat.
Now time for our congregational offering. If you're with us for the first time, feel free to pass the virtual plate. Your presence here in the Zoom room is your gift to us. Members, please click the link on your screen to make a donation or a pledge. Even though we are not in our beloved fellowship hall, our operating expenses are still the same. You may also mail a check to UUCD at Clapboard Ridge Road, 24 Clapboard Ridge Road in Danbury. And thank you for doing your part to support and sustain this community that we love so much. Please join me in our congregational response. In the spirit of compassion and service, we dedicate these, our offerings.
Thank you so much to Cheryl and Barbara for that reprise performance. I thought it appropriate given today's topic. So I thank them very much for being willing to give us their great music again. Well, good morning, everyone. Well, I find one of the disadvantages of this particular medium is the fact I can't really hear your responses, so I don't know if the jokes are going over. So, but anyway, truth. Tell me the truth. All I want is the truth. Just be truthful with me. How many times has someone said that to you, or have you uttered those words to someone else? Just tell me the truth. Exactly what truth are you talking about? The unvarnished truth, the honest truth, the cold, hard truth, the kind that comes from the mouth of babes? The correspondence theory of truth says that a proposition is true provided there exists a fact corresponding to it. However, according to the Declaration of Independence, some truths are self-evident, so they require no proof. Well, in the film Secondhand Lions, Robert Duvall's character, Uncle Hub, makes the following declaration. Sometimes the things that may or may not be true are the things that a man needs to believe in the most. That people are basically good. That honor, courage, and virtue mean everything. That power and money and power mean nothing. That good always triumphs over evil, that love, true love, never dies. No matter if they're true or not, a man should believe in those things because those are the things worth believing in. Looked at from his point of view, how important is truth? Our fourth principle holds us to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Free, that would mean unfettered, unrestricted, open, responsible. To approach it with an accountability and thoughtfulness. But is this a destination or a process? My personal observations would lead me to believe that the vast majority of us human beings are, despite our protestations, happy in ruts. Well, perhaps not ruts, but at least well-worn paths through our intellect. Madison Avenue tells us that people are most receptive to statements that correspond to what they currently believe. This would seem to be in concert with the theory of cognitive dissonance. In Forbes magazine, Mark Murphy writes, the state of cognitive dissonance occurs when someone holds two psychologically inconsistent beliefs or attitudes or opinions that create an unpleasant mental tension. Cognitive dissonance first received scientific recognition in the mid-1950s when social psychologist Leon Festinger and two of his peers gained undercover entry into a small doomsday cult called the Seekers. The group was led by a Chicago homemaker, Dorothy Martin, who claimed to be able to channel superior beings from a planet called Clarion. Her followers proceeded to give up homes, divorce non-believing spouses, quit jobs, dissolve savings, all in preparation for their departure from to the planet Clarion because of a huge flood that was to encompass the Earth. Well, when no spaceship shows up at the appointed time and place, the followers are upset. They fear abandonment by the aliens, begin to doubt the prophecy, and have all manner of anxiety until a new prophecy is announced that they have spread enough light that God has managed to save the world from destruction and their departure is unnecessary. The proof, of course, being that the Great Flood does not occur, destroying all life on Earth. Now, nobody then seemed to consider that they had made a mistake in trusting Martin, that they had been duped, lied to, that the whole affair simply didn't fit with life as they knew it. We are most likely to accept as truth those statements that are in concert with what we already believe. Nobody likes to be wrong. In fact, many of us, based on our behavior, would rather be considered liars than wrong. How many times have you heard someone who made a mistake say, oops, I lied? You see, I really knew the right answer. I was just trying to mislead you. Better a liar than to be mistaken. I have a couple of poll questions for you this morning, and I'm going to give you a little time to do those. First of all, I want to ask you, have you ever posted or reposted a political or spiritual meme or a quote or statement on social media? Let me just launch that poll right now. Now I'll give you a few moments to respond. Okay, great. I'm watching the numbers change here as they go. We're almost done. A few more seconds. Okay, I'm going to share the results here. There you go. 81% of you say that you've done that. So that's quite a few. So we're going to take a look at a new question. Have you ever shared or excuse me, that's that one. Got to get to the next one. Sorry. Where's the next one? Oh, there we go. Nope. Where's the next one? Chris, I may need a hand here. I can't find the other questions. Ah, there we go. So this one, have you ever fact-checked a post you disagreed with on Snopes or PolitiFact or any of the well-known fact-checking sites? Have you ever done that? Okay, a few more seconds. Okay. Again, quite a few of you have done that. Now, our last question. Have you ever fact-checked a post that you agreed with? Instead of just sending it straight through, have you fact-checked? Now, I think you'd agree that from going from about 86% who checked something they didn't agree with to 50% checking things they have agreed, it's quite a significant difference. Again, we tend to accept as truth those things that we already believe. So back to our free and responsible search for truth. Where do we find truth? How much can we do alone? What sources or who can we trust? In an era where traditionally reliable sources are labeled fake news, and those that should be trusted experts have their facts rebutted by people with questionable accomplishment or authority placed side by side in little boxes on video monitors, where do we find truth? The internet allows all of us to create echo chambers. In fact, it encourages their creation by determining our interests and tastes and delivering more content of similar value. Does this enable our responsible search for truth and meaning, or does it create a barrier to that endeavor? We are the denomination of questions. We don't claim to have the truth and are generally suspicious of those who claim to. We will never be the spiritual destination for those who must possess the truth. That is a reassurance that we cannot offer. When my son Max was about 12 years old, he came to me and he said, "Dad, I want to know the truth about Santa Claus. Now you have to understand that Max was raised in a household where Dad was Santa and Grandpa was Santa and Uncle Mark was Santa. And so when friends of his would say, well, you know that the Santa Claus in the department store isn't really Santa, he would be, yes, okay. And that means what? Because Santa's a busy guy. So, of course, when I explained the more spiritual nature of Santa as versus the actual corporeal nature, he was disappointed. And many of those looking for the truth, whether spiritual, political, or social, are actually seeking reassurance or validation that what they believe, no matter how unsupportable, outlandish, or absurd, is the truth. But this is a tendency we all have. Doesn't our fourth principle carry with it the duty to examine our own beliefs, our own truths, and to fact check ourselves rather than simply accepting what we believe and rubber stamping any statement or position that seems to bolster our current belief or position? Aren't we charged to overcome the human tendency toward intellectual and spiritual complacency and to discard things we have held as truths that under scrutiny don't hold up? I'm not talking about rebelling against factual evidence-based truth. I'm talking about challenging those beliefs, those truths that we have held simply because, as far as we can remember, we have always had them. The pursuit of truth is as much about the casting off of truths found to be untenable as it is about annexing new truths. Don't we also have an obligation to be honest in seeking the truth? Doesn't it require us to listen deeply and sincerely? In my own town of New Milford, when I was on the Board of Finance, we had a firm come to town that wanted to build a natural gas-powered electrical generating station. Now, public meetings were held where the public was invited to ask questions. Unfortunately, what actually happened was that sides were drawn up immediately, and people who didn't want to see the station came to those meetings, asked questions, but then would shout down the company representatives before they even had an opportunity to answer the questions. As a political figure in town at that time, I was asked my opinion of the project, and I said, I can't honestly give you one way or the other because I couldn't find out the information. Quite frankly, I was embarrassed by the behavior of our citizens at those meetings because they were there for the answering of questions, for the finding of truth, and yet they were so fixed in their positions that they weren't really going to listen to anything. There was no way they were going to discover truth. Another day I had a Jehovah's Witness who came to my house. We were doing some yard work, and she wanted to know if I wanted to have a discussion about the Bible and God. And I told her we were busy, but she could come back. But she could come back only on one condition. And that condition was if she could consider just for a moment, the most brief moment, even a millisecond, that God had sent her to me, not for her to enlighten me, but the other way around. And that if she could consider that that was a two-way proposition, that then we could have a discussion. Otherwise, all she'd be doing would be lecturing to me, and I didn't need to hear another lecture. I give her credit. She came back, and we did have a very interesting discussion. So we must be able to self-examine, to test our truths against evidence, and be willing to alter, incorporate, or cast off our truths in the face of evidence. In Psychology Today, Ira Hyman, PhD, writes, "Why is the truth important? We all need to know the truth if we want to be able to behave rationally. Should I grant the student an extension on the project? I need to know that they actually had a serious conflict, or if they were simply lazy. Should I use the results of someone's research to make an important argument? I need to know that the data are reliable and true. Should we continue this relationship? I need to believe that you've told me the truth about where you were last night." End of quote. Yes, even in personal relationships, where truth can at times be difficult or tricky, It's often the best policy. A young fellow of my acquaintance, another magician, I had gone to see a show of his in Kingston, New York. And later he saw me about a week or so later at a club meeting and cornered me and wanted to know my opinion of the show. And I told him, I said, I'm probably not the one that you want to talk to. He was very insistent. And I told him my opinion of the show, that I thought it was a poor imitation of David Copperfield, and that the 8-year-old sitting in front of me was telling me everything that was that he was doing before the show was even over. And it was my frank and honest opinion of what he had presented. Several years later, I met up with him again, and he thanked me. And I questioned him as to why. And he said because many people had praised his show and had given him carte blanche, that it was just fabulous. He said I had been the only one who was honest with him, who had told him not to be a poor imitation of someone else, but to find out who he was and to be that person. And he was doing very well in his career, and he thanked me for that success because I had been honest with him. I had told him the truth as I understood it. Again, we tend to accept most readily those statements and ideas that coincide with what we already believe or hold as truth. I would admit that another important element of this theory, to me, depends upon the part a particular truth plays in our lives. If I'm making my shopping list and believe we have plenty of milk, but by chance open the refrigerator and find we haven't any, I change my truth and I add milk to my list. However, if I've built and structured my life based on faith in an institution, a book, a story, or a leader, and that truth, that faith is discredited. Like a house of cards, my world collapses, and that is a great fear for many people. Therefore, we resist, even deny facts that would force alteration of that truth. Again, from his article in Forbes magazine, Cognitive Dissonance helps explain why we hate to hear the truth. Mark Murphy writes, in the conclusion of Walden, Henry David Thoreau summarizes the important lessons he learned during his 2 years of simple living. He writes, rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. I sat at a table where were rich food and wine in abundance, and obsequious attendance, but sincerity and truth were not. And I went away hungry from the inhospitable board. I do love Thoreau, but I have to wonder if he's talking about the kind of truths that feel like a punch in the gut when you hear them. Because notwithstanding that, most people say they want to hear the truth. I do think that if given a choice between hard truth and love, or money and fame, most would choose the latter. The old cliche, the truth hurts, and not, the truth is like a warm fuzzy blanket that is nice to snuggle in, is for a reason. The human brain doesn't enjoy receiving information that threatens our self-esteem, shatters our pre-existing beliefs, makes our daily lives more difficult, or threatens our status. Admitting that we're wrong about something, or even partially at fault, isn't easy, even when it's for our own good. When the truth hurts, we want to protect ourselves from the pain, and so we find a way to shut down, stop listening, or otherwise resist. And we're not always aware when that is happening. End of quote. So please, follow our fourth principle, but remember that bias we all carry. Remember that we need to be aware of that natural resistance. We should not stand too smugly in our own shadow. Remember that altering your position, your belief, your truth, in the face of new evidence is a show of strength, not of weakness. Thank you very much, and may it be so.
We'll now sing hymn 297, The Star of Truth. The star of truth but dimly shines behind the veiling clouds of night. But every searching eye divines some partial glimmer of its light. The certainty for which we crave, no mortal ones can ever know. Uncharted waters we must brave and face whatever winds may blow. Though for safe harbor we may long, we must not let our courage fail. And though the winds of doubt blow strong, upon the trackless ocean sail. From honest doubt we shall not flee, nor fetter the inquiring mind. For where the hearts of all are free, a truer faith we there shall find.
And now it's time for extinguishing our chalice. Okay. And if you will, with me, repeat the words of extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment.
Are we
These
not
we carry
having,
in our-
are we not having a meditation?
Oh,
sorry?
I'm sorry. I couldn't read the couldn't read the order of service. Oh, okay. Meditation. Sorry about that. Thank you, Suze, for calling that to my attention. Yes, we're going to have some time now for meditation, and would like you all to think about a time where truth played an important part in your life, either because of a truth you discovered or a truth that went unsaid.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the
the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
And now it's time to extinguish our chalice. Give you a moment to blow it out. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. And now Jerry will play with us for hymn number 190, Light of Ages and of Nations.
Light of ages and of nations, every race and every time has received thine inspiration, glimpses of thy truth sublime, always spirit in rapt vision, past the heavenly veil within, always hearts bowed in contrition, found salvation from their sin. Reason's noble aspiration, truth in growing clearness saw, conscience spoken condemnation, or proclaimed eternal flaw. Thine inward revelation told thy saints their prayers were heard. Prophets to the guilty nation spoke thine everlasting word. Lo, that word abideth ever. Revelation is not sealed, answering now to our endeavor. Truth and right are still revealed, that which came to ancient sages, Greek, barbarian, Roman, Jew, written in the soul's deep pages, shines today forever new.
And our closing words are from our hymnal number 597. This will be a unison reading, so please read along with me. Never does hatred cease by hating in return. Only through love can hatred come to an end. Victory breeds hatred. The conquered dwell in sorrow and resentment. They who give up all thought of victory or defeat may be calm and live happily at peace. Let us overcome violence by gentleness. Let us overcome evil by good. Let us overcome the miserly by liberality. And let us overcome the liar by truth. Thank you so much, and go in peace. Jerry will now play for us the postlude Blue Boat Home. Thank you, Jerry.